first met Vasiliki, it must have been about 2 or 3 years ago when I was first setting out in looking to buy a property in Greece. I was a little bit clueless. I had an idea that I wanted to buy something. I had been shown around various places by different agents, but Vasiliki was the first person who actually sat me down on the sofa where we were actually viewing the apartment, and she went through a few of the basics that I really should have thought about at the beginning. So today, I'd like to introduce Vasiliki and maybe talk about property investment in Athens. So, hi Vasiliki, welcome to...
Hi. Thank you for having me, first of all. It's an honor to know that someone that I've made not an impact, but at least, so you didn't end up buying something from the properties that I had. But it's more important for me, the fact that you came back and we had a good chat. And because at the end of the day, the easy thing is to say is that we sell properties. But the truth is we should be advisors.
So let's think about neighborhoods a little bit, if we can do. Let's take the tourist sort of industry. What are some of the neighborhoods that you would recommend? And I guess I'm thinking for things like Airbnb and booking.com and things like that.
Okay, like if that question was 2-3 years ago, I would say Pagrati, Exarchia, Neapoli. They are in the center of Athens. Then I would go to old Athens like Plaka, Monastiraki, Koukaki, that are around the ancient, all the museums and this sort of action. But let's not forget that Athens, first of all, the distances are very short. Okay, so and within 20, 15 minutes, you can be by the beach. So we have a lot of attraction also in areas like towards the south, okay? Because there is a lot of things, there are a lot of things that are changing. And now we are getting a lifting of the area. Because all of a sudden, let's say this project at Elliniko, if you are aware of, is starting, and you see the trucks going inside and digging. So this psychologically, it's like the stock market, you know, you see action. So, you know, things are happening and are changing. So everybody will go towards that direction because they know that what might seem expensive now will be even more expensive later.
So for anyone who doesn't know, that's the old airport, the old Olympic airport, which is being redeveloped as a huge commercial, residential, business park space. And it's interesting to know that things are starting to happen there. And I think you're right, it isn't a long distance, is it, from these sorts of areas?
Not at all.
To the center and to the sea. So these are some areas that could be interesting for people who are appealing to tourists, but maybe want to have that base for themselves sometimes to enjoy what Greece has to offer and not just the city center. Elliniko is one which is familiar to me. Are there any other areas you would say between Athens
yes.
and the sea?
Look, all the place from Piraeus, okay, where is the port where most of the people take the boats to go to the islands, from Piraeus all the way to Varkiza. In between you have then Piraeus, you have the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. Have you ever been there?
No, but I've read it. Yes, yeah.
Okay, so these are small projects, but they are all part of one huge project together with Elliniko. So you have Piraeus, where you have this new metro lines. You have the tram that runs from Faliro. So you have Piraeus, Niarchos, and then you have Kalamaki, Faliron, and then you go Elliniko, which is the huge project that is happening. And then you would move towards Glyfada, Voula, and the number one, of course, place where you would never lose your money is Kavouri and Vouliagmeni. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's where I'd go if I want a day trip out of, well, I say out of Athens, but a day trip to the sea, that's where I would head towards.
And we have a lot of Airbnb now because there was the perception that Airbnb there is seasonal, meaning you have Airbnb that starts from the month of April until maximum of end of September, a little bit from October, but that's not true. If you're a good host and you have the proper management and you offer the proper service to the people, you will always be on demand. You know, you will be 300 days a year booked. And now in these areas, Vouliagmeni and Kavouri, we have many young people who can work from their office, from their home, like 6 months a year, because companies have given that due to the COVID, and they prefer these areas.
Yeah.
They like to be here.
By the sea, I suppose. I mean, that's what you...
Yeah. Or walking distance to the sea.
Yeah.
And you cannot imagine what is happening construction-wise here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Towards Vula and Glifada, it's crazy. They are building and building and building. I mean, it's all the time.
Yeah, well, that's good to know that it has become more of an all year round. I mean, that would be why I probably wouldn't have looked in that area, because of the fact that it's, for me, it feels seasonal, it feels summer, it feels beach. Because I know that Athens generally has definitely become a 365-day destination spot, very firmly established now. It used to be the sort of place you just jumped off on your way to the islands, and I think that's no longer the case. It's very much in line with other, European cities like Barcelona, people coming for shorter times or making it their main holiday, so it's really changed.
So you have the big hotels where there are people who are staying there with their teams or with their companies because they are having a big event, and there is the support staff that the company cannot afford to book for them to stay there, for the 1 week. Yes. So, or you have the people who have their boats in the port of Vouliagmeni, which is reconstructed now, and it will be part of the Four Seasons hotel. Also, these people are support staff and they cannot stay in the hotels. They need accommodation. So, they like having a good place for them to stay.
Yeah.
And all the shipping companies down here. Elliniko is one part. Okay, it's not only Elliniko. So that is why Piraeus is also a good bet. You have in Athens the 3-day tourist. The 3-day tourist is the person who wants to go to the islands but spends 3 days in the center of Athens for sightseeing. So this person doesn't necessarily need to stay in the center of Athens. This person now can easily stay in Piraeus and take the metro wherever this person wants to go and leave easily the next morning to the islands. You also have the universities, meaning this person can rent the property. If they don't want the Airbnb, they can rent the property to a student, which is in a very high demand, okay? And it's secured money because the person who is coming in Athens to study, the parents will definitely make sure their child, it's secured in a good property. So you have a very good clientele there, all the students. And there's a big need there for that.
This is very interesting perspective, because I would never have thought about Piraeus. But as you say, with that whole development of the stretch along there, plus some of the reasons you've indicated, it makes sense, actually. I mean, how about, I think you touched on it before, but let's say somebody a bit more residential who maybe wants to make Athens their home, or they might want to rent it out to a professional or another a family. You've indicated sort of areas like Kolonaki. Could you maybe say a little bit more about those? I mean, I'm
Look, for me,
things, but some people don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, look, Kolonaki is a very expensive area, okay, but you will never lose your money. There's no big fluctuation in the properties. There, people, if the times are hard, they just don't sell. They are not willing to put the price down. Prices don't change a lot. I mean, you need to be really lucky to find something in an opportunity, like we say. So location-wise, we have Kolonaki. And then, for me, we would have the areas like Metz, which is a very good area because you have a very easy access to the Acropolis, to the pedestrian street towards Herodion and Acropolis. It's a very cozy, nice area with old houses. I don't know if you had the chance to walk around, but there's no heavy construction and it's nice. It's nice. Yes, Metz is really nice. Pagrati, on the other hand, I would say that there are very specific streets that I would like to buy in Pagrati, because Pagrati, after you go up from Imitu, where is the border, like I would say, for the tourists to have access to metro is too long, too far away, and you walk a lot.
Yeah.
You go to Varnavas and walk like 20 minutes with your luggage.
I mean, for me, Pagrati still feels a bit like a kind of Greek person's insider's tip, because it's very cool, it's quite hipster. You wouldn't see your average tourist certainly sort of walking along there with their backpack like you would in Koukaki. And it has the new Golandries Foundation just near there as well. So it's a cool spot.
You have, and it's also now, this is very close, the area of Hilton.
Yeah,
Pagrati.
you asked me about Hilton. Yeah.
Yes, these are really, really cool and nice areas.
And also, I was going to say near the American Embassy.
The American Embassy,
too,
yes.
So you've got those
that's
kinds
a
of
very
people, good market.
Very good market there also. That's a really good market also. You don't find very easily properties there. It's not so easy to find properties. Okay.
Okay.
But these are very nice areas as well. And there, you don't only have you also have the high demand from the embassies, of course, where of course they have specific standards, okay, for the properties. You have a lot of requests and demand from the hospitals that are around there.
Right there. Yeah,
yes,
true.
You have a lot of requests from that.
Yeah.
And you're just a breath away from the center of Kolonaki.
From everything. Yeah,
from
absolutely.
Everything.
Yeah.
And it's quiet. It's very quiet.
Yeah.
It's a really nice area. So you have the big names, like I said before, Kolonaki, which is number one.
Yeah.
Exarchia, etc., El Plaka, Acropolis area, all these. And then you have the other areas, like around Omonia, okay, Platia Canigos, Petaxurgio also, that are not haven't been upgraded a lot. Though government has said yes, we will do it, it has improved, but it has not changed. Okay, in the center, things take longer to change.
Yeah. I mean, certainly in Metaxurgio, I see that there are, buds of new life coming, and there are some interesting cafes and restaurants coming, which is obviously a little bit of a signpost to things that come.
Yes. Many people talk about Kypseli.
Okay,
that's an area.
Tell me a little bit about Kypseli then. Where is that located?
Look, it touches some of the borders of Exarchia on the left side, towards the end of Exarchia. Yeah. And there you have some really nice areas in Kypseli. It used to be one of the most beautiful areas in Athens. And there are many people who are taking old houses and they are renovating them. It's a little bit like Exarchia. I can say that some of the places in Kypseli are even more beautiful, to be honest.
Okay.
And you have many abandoned buildings. What is happening now is that they are putting more metro lines. So there is a better accessibility in the area. And Kypseli will become very attractive for golden visas and for students.
Right.
Because of the metro. Okay. And for golden visas, because there are still available some plots, and they are having the newly built buildings. They are building new buildings, and they can offer this 70 or 80 square meter property with the golden visa price.
What would be, your takeaway sort of piece of advice? You've given lots of useful pieces of advice, but if there's one thing that you'd want someone who's looking at investing in Athens think about when they're starting their journey, what would that be?
use their gut feeling. I mean, don't think money-wise only, because I mean, this country is beautiful. When I know, you know, I know money is not easy to make, but use also your gut feeling for something. When you go into a place, see how you feel, you know, because people, we are using our reasoning very often, but we don't use our second-hand brain, which is the stomach. And that tells us a lot most of the times. And you should trust this on the people you meet and on the places you go. And the final advice that I will give would be to ask questions, you know, you should be prepared to ask and don't rush into decisions. Ask questions and start building a level of trust with the people you speak. That would be my advice.
Well, thank you very much, Vasiliki. I think these sounds like some very fair and nice and also humane ways of looking at this as well. So this has been a fantastic talk.
Thank you so much.
I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christopher.